Well, here I'm taking a look at the assignment 2 thumbnails. I know just about everybody has moved on to assignment 3. So the thumbnail that will likely be the design for your final project has been selected. On the other hand, between weeks 5 and 6, it's necessary to push your design forward considerably. And it might be that you can borrow ideas from a second thumbnail to contribute more information or added interest to your final project. Further, here when I show you images, it's not that I'm encouraging people to work naturalistically, but instead I'm just giving you some associated visual material that I hope will inspire you, propel you, or give you something to chew on with regard to your designs. So looking at Rebecca's here, I'm focusing on the bottom two in particular. I see in the bottom left one a resemblance to both that dam, the second image down, top left, and also the interior of Le Corbusier's chapel at Ronchamp in France. So there the wall is very thick and the windows have this look, something like what we see in the central band of Rebecca's bottom left thumbnail. I wanted to mention the work of Evan Summer. He looks to dams and large forms in the landscape for inspiration for his etchings. You see an image of his there. In Jeff's, I believe the idea is to take a color palette from a macabre work of art and use it with a composition that has a very different sort of theme, showing how the same colors could work successfully in both varieties of work. Now, I want to dwell on the matter of photographs. First of all, if you are using a photographic image, it ought to be taken by you personally. Second, if you're finding someone else's photo and posterizing it, that is, in many instances, a minimal adjustment to the image. And there are copyright issues, all of these sorts of things to consider. So Jeff, I need to have your assurance that these photos are yours. And if they're not, we should look at a revision here. Now, when I look at the image that Jeff's gone with, the one of Mary in the bottom left, I see that that's clearly been posterized. And this is an interesting way to go for this sort of assignment if you start with a photo. Using posterization in Photoshop, you can limit the number of values and make a variety of adjustments creatively. Jeff, I understand you want to do an image with fruit that is glass or transparent looking. These drawings are okay. I'd like to see value in this assignment, however. I'd like to know what program you're using and also the tools. Now, here's an image by Frida Kahlo. It's all watermelons, you'll note. Watermelons cut in different ways for the most part. And last weekend I was at the local museum regarding a rather amazing painting, an American work by this artist named Severin Rosen. And this is a close view of that. Hello, Catherine. I understand that you're going to go with the bottom left design, which is all right. There's something very interesting going on with the top left design. Because of the circles growing smaller and also fainter, we have a strong suggestion of depth, even in this black and white version. The placement of the triangles is fairly arbitrary in the bottom left work, and what I'm thinking is they seem to be floating. They're reminding me a little bit of paper airplanes or an air show. Also, I was considering that maybe the triangles could arrange themselves, or they might be falling into or out of an arrangement, such as what we see in the top left, that stained glass image made up of triangular shapes. Hello, Nadina. This is a nice set of studies. I would encourage you to go with either of the ones for the house. Because the flowers are prominent, it made me think of the work of Polly Applebaum. You see her flowery images here. One of them shows the making of the image using a sort of printmaking stamp. Hello, Shannon. Your work needs to be submitted in grayscale, and in the film strip image here, I've done it for you. However, I need you to go ahead and do that and post that work in the discussion. There are directions for how to do it there. Another question I have is, are the bottom left and top right thumbnails the same? We need to have 4 different ones. And then, this image reminds me of a rocky landform near the sea. And I thought of Monet's painting of this view of the coast of France. I believe he painted this view or similar ones many times over. And then I visited Mont Saint-Michel in France and also the offshore rocks near Portland in Oregon. Hi, Jamie. I have a variety of ideas for you. One of them has to do with drawing your own silhouette, and I've given you a link for that. Also, in the discussion, you'll see some notes on putting the sidewalk in perspective without changing the view of it a great deal. I was wondering about the words you've put on a newer version of your image, indicating the Art Institute of Colorado there in Denver. I wonder if you want to have words only in one place. I'd say maybe you can convey the idea of the Art Institute without words, or you could add words to other buildings. Hi, Marie. This is so much fun. It didn't occur to me that somebody would actually choose to do a clock face for the final project. I think that you could probably even put this to use on a clock. So I know you've gone with the bottom right image, and I think that that's a good one. I like the way that the flower has 6 petals. So where the hour hand is between 2 of them, there on the left, pointing horizontally, we can easily understand that that's 3 o'clock. Hello, Heather. I'm wondering whether you started with a black and white image and there's a filter applied to that, and then that is subsequently affecting the colors. I'm not sure about that. So there's one image here that reminds me quite a lot of an agate. And I thought you might also be interested in this work by Lee Bontecu, which is unusually small here. Her works tend to be quite large. And in the past I showed this image of a sun catcher in the shadow that it casts, which is not very much unlike what you're trying to show. With a sun, the central area would probably be lightest. Hi, Zara. I know you've been settling into using the top right thumbnail, but when I get a chance to look at all of these, I would say you've got a lot of other things that may even be more exciting. I feel as though with the top right one, the drawing is kind of simple and what we would expect, but what you show us in the other thumbnails is really rather surprising. I especially like the top left one, which reminds me of that vase face illusion. However, it works in a very different way. It's humorous and it suggests a personification of shapes, a conversation. I really do like that. I'm pointing the work of Marisol Escobar out to you here, which may be of interest with relation to that image and with relation to the other, these works by Picasso and Rousseau. Hi, Julia. I understand you're going with this bottom left design. I also observed that you've adjusted the composition so that things aren't quite as crowded on the right and left sides. When I look at this, I see that there's a shape that looks like the letter E or the number 3 there, which suggests a picture language in a way, or language generally. And I was thinking of pictographs and wondering whether you could take some ready-made ones or fashion some yourself and possibly include those here in this. It might make the piece more amusing or contemporary looking. Hi, Amanda. I'm not sure which one you're going with here. I do admire the top right one, and there are some images there that suggest the pictogram idea as well. With regard to your bottom right thumbnail, I found a couple of images that might be inspirational to you.